Welcome. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. This is the session we're talking about Hyper Island and looking at whether you have any questions or thoughts around joining us to study the master's qualifications that we have here in digital management and digital experience design. It's an absolutely packed session, over 45 minutes. We're going to be hearing from program leaders of our full-time masters, from our part-time masters as well. And then we're going to be talking with some of our amazing alumni that have completed this journey and gone on to do great things. So please hold on. And then we'll go all the way through to Iman, who's going to be talking about how you apply. So if you feel inspired and ready to get involved, then that's a place to hold on to and then to go to. And Iman will talk all about that. And then we'll have some question and answers and a chance to talk just briefly towards the end and see what you can do. And then the conversation is always open. We can talk about that afterwards. But first, let's talk about Hyper Island itself. So we've been around for 25 years. We are a Swedish origin organization. We're focused entirely on training and learning by doing. It's very much about experiential learning and how that works for our students and also for our clients and the courses that we run as well. And that's what we've been doing since we started all those years ago. And we have locations in Singapore, in New York and in Brazil, and also, of course, in Sweden and South Sweden and Manchester and London. And across that group of people, we work extensively on a whole host of different types of courses, master's programs in Singapore, but also, obviously, what we're talking about today is our work in the UK and in Sweden as well. And then, of course, our clients that we work with as well. So thank you very much for joining. I'm going to dive in first and have a chat with Catherine and Becca, who are the full-time Masters program leaders, and ask them a few questions and hear what they've got to say. Thank you. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Becca.
Hello.
Hi, Becca.
So, Becca, starting with you, tell us a bit about your role and what you're involved with on the program.
Yeah, so I'm program leader here in Manchester. Welcome. I'll be here to welcome you if you do come through these doors. And I'm program leader for the two full-time masters programs. So that's the MA in Digital Management and the MA in Digital Experience Design. And I'm also academic lead for MA Europe. So I get a bit of a thrill of underpinning all the practice that we do and that you'll do here at Hyper, and underpin that with some academic research. So there we go.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Catherine, tell a bit about yourself, your time at Hyper Island and your involvement in the program, please.
Hi, yes, thank you, Nick. So I'm program leader with Becca here in Manchester for the Masters in Digital Experience Design and Digital Management that run concurrently. 6 months, so my responsibilities are to curate the content, to design the learning journey, and to facilitate the taught part of the program when the students are here with us. And a big part of my job, I guess, is networking, is kind of linking in with clients that we form learning partnerships with, and working with industry leaders who then go on to deliver content, and finding out special bits of content that the students might need to support them on that journey and work with them in their teams while they're here with us.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll talk a bit more about those clients that you were talking about that you bring in to be involved with briefs on the program itself. But first, I'd like to go over to Becca and just ask a bit more detail around the connection between digital management and digital experience design as masters programs and how that works on the program that starts in January next year.
Sure. So we are really lucky here in Manchester because we get the opportunity, compared to the other hubs across Hyper Island, to have both programs running together. And therefore, the experience is heightened and magnified. You get this amazing cross-pollination, bringing in the Manchester bee there. It matters. You get the cross-pollination between the digital management, the digital experience design, and students talk so fondly, and you'll hear the stories, I'm sure, in a minute, of how those those experiences combined create these amazing fireworks of collaboration between different skill sets and disciplines and experience. Because of course, all the students that do come walking through the doors here are a high caliber. They come from a professional practice already, either with an interest in digital management or expertise in digital experience design, and come here to really finesse it and focus and streamline their thinking.
That's brilliant, and I think it's quite unique in terms of that combination of the opportunity to work together in that sense. And underpinning all of that is our, one of our values at Hyper Island is team is everything, and starting the journey is that way week, just to really land how those teams are going to operate together, to then launch into the program proper and start the studying and the learning as a group and together. And of course that mirrors the real world, the outside world, where in fact teams like that are formed all the time, and that's what's quite unique about the Masters at Hyper Island, is that we prepare and build students for that experience, or build on their existing experience to make them even stronger. Thank you. So Catherine, back to those clients. Can you share maybe one or two of the clients that we've had most recently that we've worked with, and how that's worked?
Mm-hmm. So City Football Group, of which Manchester City Football Club is part of, just down the road here. They are a client who we've worked with a couple of times, and who are very, very, always very excited to work with us. So they come on board, they share with us their challenges, their brief effectively, and then we work alongside them, looking at the learning outcomes that we have to deliver for the Masters, for students to fulfil part of their Masters for those modules, be it digital technologies or understanding humans, customers, and we work with them to provide a brief for the students that they then put together. They work together in teams to deliver something to the client at the end of that project, which is typically kind of 3 weeks long, and the client gets a really strong bit of work, research and feedback also for their organisation. Some other clients that we've worked with are EY Consultancy, Adidas, Manchester City Council, and so big clients right down to small startups, non-profit organisations, charities as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's those learnings that they then take into their own organisation, and sometimes those organisations want to continue the journey with the students and the brief that they set, which is particularly exciting. But certainly the partnership is particularly strong. And I know with Manchester City Football Club, it's going from strength to strength. I think each year they come back and they want to do more around the work they're doing around innovation and so on. Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing. I'm going to jump over to Magnus now, who's a program leader for part-time. Magnus is there. He is. Hey, Magnus.
Hey, very good, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Nice
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Yeah, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into becoming the program leader for the part-time masters in Sweden.
Sure. So I actually studied Hyper Island back in 2013. So I did the full-time program in Manchester, which was, set me up for a lot of stuff in the UK and also in Germany, where I worked a lot in different consultancies. Also worked for a bit for Facebook. I had my own fashion brand, and worked across some different pieces before I ended up back at Hyper Island 3 years ago. So where I've been running the part-time course in Stockholm for that duration.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, lots of really wonderful experience before you then brought all of that into your role as program leader. Can you talk a little bit about how the part-time program works? Mm-hmm. Whether in Sweden or in the London crew? Thank you.
For sure. So the way the part-time program is structured is that you have a set of campus weekends every month that is kind of attached across your full-time work experience. And I would say, like also being an alumni from the full-time, the key difference between the courses is that you have an opportunity to apply your learning on an ongoing basis. So often, which also is quite, I would say, attractive in case of career progression and also building up kind of your skill set as you evolve, as most of the students that are on the course is from a medium to senior level of experience, already have quite a few years in the market, and is kind of looking either to kind of pivot or change a bit of course or kind of evolve their current positions.
Yeah, it makes sense, absolutely. And then thinking about some of the clients that you've involved in in the courses, with Sweden obviously, but also your colleague Gabby and who she's brought in as a program leader. Can you talk a bit about that, please, if that's okay?
Yeah, I can talk mostly about the ones I had in Stockholm, if that's okay.
Yes.
In that sense. So in Stockholm, we had I tried to kind of create a bit of an eclectic assortment of clients in terms of the different kind of levels of interest and kind of on industries and so forth. So from more of, I would say, more playful clients such as teenage engineering, which is more about just explorative. Sorry, I'm in Berlin, so there's always a siren going on. Teenage engineering, which is very explorative, no market research, just like let's do the best music instruments in the world. And we did kind of briefs around basically how to imagine if the only interaction with the internet would be through a synthesizer. And like, okay, so that's the kind of starting points and how that explore kind of that sense. And towards more, for example, working with the UN Ops, which part of the UN, to establish how they can create capacity in innovation across the organization on a global level. In that sense, it was interesting because the brief landed just before COVID hit the ground, and they already wanted to kind of look at how can we be a carbon neutral organization, how can we remove a lot of the workshops and so forth and build kind of a capacity there. And then other places like Informa, which owns concepts such as Communicom and so forth, to kind of reimagine how physical network and conferences will be beyond 2022 and 2023 and so forth, and kind of taking the learnings from hybrid and online and physical and merging it into new things. So that's a section of it, but also like weekdays, also like the National Insurance Agency of Sweden. So there's a mix of kind of playful, more creative, explorative, as well as kind of having a bit, I would say, substance and purpose-led client in that way.
That's a really brilliant summary. Thank you so much. And I'm really familiar with those sirens with you in Berlin. Obviously, we work together so much. I hear them so often. No, thank you. I think what's exciting about that, as you say, that mix and the real world problems that are being set. These are genuinely important questions being asked by the clients that they don't have the answer to, and they're coming to your program and your crew to get some guidance on what could the answer be. And Inform is a really good example. Their business has been decimated, but they're a massive organization with good cash flow, and they're planning for a new future, and that's a really exciting thing. And I think any participants, students who are going through that process will have their own organizations in mind when they're learning about how to create the innovation proposals that they're putting together. So yeah, they're really engaging. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, Magnus. I'm going to jump over to some of our alumni now, please. I'm going to invite in Graziella, Yash, Shin, and Rita.
Hi, everyone. Hey.
Hello. Hey.
Thank you so much for joining. As often is the case with Hyper Island alumni, we asked 4 alumni from very different programs, backgrounds, and all 4 said yes. So it's a privilege to be here to talk to you today. So I'm going to jump around and ask you different questions, really. I'd like to start with Shin, if that's okay, and ask you what's a program that you studied and why did you choose Hyper Island to be involved?
I joined Hyper Island in 2019 in digital experience design course. And I think back then I really wanted to learn about how to get closer to people and also overlooking design as a spectrum, not only for like styling device, but how can we expand from there? How can we really innovate from there? And I think Hyper was the right channel to reach out to.
Yeah, thank you. And what learnings did you take from the program that helped you then build on that? What were your key learnings?
If I were to summarize it, I think I can split them into two key chunks. The first one was the art of collaboration. I think Hyper really helped me to understand a lot more about like team management. How do we build psychological safety across team really fast, really strongly, and how can we really foster a process that that enable innovation. Yeah, I think that was one big chunk, and the other one was the art of learning. How can we train ourselves to be ever resilient in this ever-changing world? How can we learn to upskill ourselves, unlearn and relearn? I think that was really big takeout from my experience with Hyper.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. So that part around dealing with complexity of change on a constant basis, and you use the word process as well, which is very much a part of how we deliver the learning on a Hyper Island Masters. It's not just about content; processes of equal importance, right? So thank you so much for drawing that out. I'd love to go over to Rita and thinking about those parts of content and process and that complexity around change. You're a little bit further on your journey after Hyper Island. Can you talk about what program you're on, when it was, and how that ability to work with change is supporting you now?
Fantastic. Yep. I did the MA on digital management in 2015. And at the moment, I am a service design lead at Calusa. Calusa is basically taking on, I think, that one of the most important challenges we face right now, which is to decarbonize our grid and make sure that we lower our footprint, especially in the UK, but the ambition is to go globally. I'm telling you this little spiel because as service design, I didn't know what service design was before Hyper Island. Didn't know it was a possibility because I used to be in advertising, which is a little box. So Hyper, essentially, it can be, I take that back. Hyper really opened my eyes and gave me new tools. And what's happening now is that I'm able to build a team. I'm able to help around 800 of my colleagues collaborate by creating frameworks. So you gave me hacks. That's what you did. You taught me how to hack culture and make people feel seen.
That's great. So the tools to be able to create collaboration, and again, to handle complexity, collaboration and effective group dynamics is essential, isn't it, to be able to get to that change? Thank you. We'll come back to you in a second just to draw out that. I'd like to go over to Graziella, who also is a little bit further on from her journey with Hyper. What are you doing now, and what was the program that you're on?
So the program I started was the Masters in Digital Management in London. So it was a part-time master. I flew into London once a month from Zurich, Switzerland, where I live right now. And actually, just when I started Hyper Island, I got promoted as a head of digital strategist for Swiss Public Broadcast, where I was leading a big team trying to enable digital transformation. And it was a huge company, like compared to the BBC, but Swiss size. And after a while, I was more and more interested in how do I integrate this knowledge in different companies. So SF alone wasn't enough for me. And right now, I have the honor to help Hyper Island expand to Switzerland. So it's a huge challenge to bring this knowledge, to bring this experience also to other Swiss companies. And as you can hear, I gained so much from this experience in London. It was just so amazing, the combination of a business school, a school that helps you to navigate in this uncertainty, and also really to feel what a team is really meaning and how important teams, how important reflection, self-reflection is in terms of transformation. And those skills I try to give on now. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so your experience with London, and particularly the part-time experience, thinking about that, you talked about team formation, but obviously because it's part-time, you're coming in and out all the time. How did you keep the team building, even though you weren't in the campus all the time?
So I think the first week you told about this kickoff week, I forgot the name.
Yeah, way week.
We had this amazing team building week. Like we got separated after that for only 1 week, and everyone was spread over all Europe and already kind of crying like back in the days in the scouts camp. Or you're not gonna see each other again. So we kept on check online, and during each module we had this online experience. So it was also, we always had a challenge with a real client. Like my team had one on to work together with the BBC, which was really special because I also was working in a broadcast company at that time, and we could collaborate as a group in, I think it was 3 different time zones. But this also helped me how to train how to collaborate digitally. And of course, the weeks we were in London were also very special. So we got really close as a team, and also kept this connection online during the time we were back home.
Yeah, thank you. So the tools and techniques you're able to keep going, I guess using those in the real world, your day-to-day work is just as powerful, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, over to you, Yash. Thank you so much for your patience and waiting for me to ask you some questions now. So tell us a little bit about your experience or the program that you were on, and what made you decide to come into Hyper Island, please.
So I was in the Masters in Digital Experience Design last year, so 2020 batch. I started in January. What made me choose Hyper is one of my seniors from college, my undergrad, was a student in Hyper Sweden. And I spoke to her about it. And the way she described the experiences that she was having, which was mostly the first 2 weeks, as Graziella just mentioned, that are so wonderful in terms of the way you build culture. And I believe that I am a person that thrives in a similar environment. That is what made me choose Hyper. My experience was really good, and the way I could build connections, and the way it made me confident to build my own connections also. It's helping me now. So currently, I'm working in a startup that I connected with them during my thesis. So it was really good. And unfortunately, we went remote after 2 months of campus time. So I guess the key part over here is Hyper has a value that's real world ready, right? And to a lot of people, it doesn't really make sense because they haven't experienced that. But by the end of my 6 months in Manchester, I think I definitely felt like I was equipped enough to go in the industry with the kind of work we did, even after going remote.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's an important point, and I really appreciate you bringing this up, because I'm sure those that have dialed in to join this will, on their minds, is the pandemic and ongoing disruption to travel and so on, and I think that understanding of how we transitioned from in-person to online is key. I mean, what were the key kind of things that you draw out from that experience? Obviously, for you went through the process of moving because the pandemic hit us all, and we none of us knew what to do and how to respond to it. Of course, complexity and change being central to that, we approached it as a group, as a team, and we came in together with you as students and us as program leaders to do it. But what for you really stood out from that experience and that transition, and how we then took it on?
For me, I think I appreciated that we were proactive and not reactive. So we didn't wait for the regulations to come in, whether we're going remote or not. When we saw that it's a matter of when and not if, we all decided what's best for everyone. We first of all, we understood what kind of a mindset everyone was in, because it's difficult times for everyone. And then as a group of people in a studio, we decided that we should try out these things, see if they work out, and then if they do, then we can keep working on them. So that was a really good one for me. So it was like proactive, as I said.
That was a key moment to make that decision and yeah, to be all in to the next step. And then of course we were also all in into supporting that process. So what are you involved with now? You talked about your industry research project and how that's what you're working on that.
Yeah, so this is something I would have never imagined, but I actually moved towards a little bit of psychology and behavior science because of an industry leader. I was really interested in it, and so I did my thesis on psychological needs and experiences. And during that process, I tried to connect with industry experts, and as it turned out, one of them, yeah, they were they were creating their own product, and they had started their own company, and they were kind enough to offer me a chance to check out what it is. And it turned out that the culture that they had was very well fit with what hyper culture is, and even the product is focused on self-learning and growth. So at that time, I was like, right out of college, it was very relatable for me. It still is. So I felt like that's a place where I can take all the things I learned from hyper and apply them there. So it turned out that it was a really good fit for me.
What an amazing opportunity. And I think it's that thing of people being fixated on the word digital, and actually digital is just a word, right? So it's about a mindset, and that mindset you gained and built at Hyper Island is one that can be taken into a different discipline that you've not been involved with before. So I'm so pleased to hear that. Rita, just back to you just for a moment before we then go over to another one of our colleagues. How do you feel about that kind of transition, of understanding, digital and how that can be broken apart and actually it's about mindset and behaviors more so?
When you say breaking digital, what do you mean? Like opening it up and discovering what's inside?
Good question. In fact, digital is simply just a word, and it's not about, we talk about digital transformation, but actually transformation is far more than just the word digital.
Right. So it turns out that what we do is design relationships, because the machine's not going to build itself. We're people building things, right? So if what you learn at Hyper is how to work with other humans that are as human as you are, so it's the only way to get things done and to innovate. So yes, please.
I love it. Thank you. What a great and clear summary. Thank you. Thank you for joining. We'll come back to you towards the end for questions. But now I'm going to head over to Iman and ask her a few questions just about the application process. I'd also add that I've been joined by a very large fly that seems to want to be in on this live experience. So it's frustrating me, but I'm going to continue anyway and be involved. Iman, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Nick, and hello, everyone. I'm good. So far, I'm very happy to get to be here and to listen to all the wonderful experience of everyone, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So what's your role at Hyper Island?
Okay, so I work as a student recruiter for the master's program at Hyper Island in UK and Sweden. You can say that I am the first person that anyone can get to speak to before starting their master's degree journey with us. So, of course, I work alongside my wonderful colleague, Anna. A little bit about me. I mean, I have experience in education program and student advising, but my role at Hyper Island mainly involved getting to speak to eager and aspiring students, applicants around the world, and helping them to find a program that fits what they're looking for, but also helping them accelerate their career and if they want to also shifting their career too. So that's the reason why I really love my job, for all the wonderful conversation that I get to have.
All those really early conversations with people who are really not sure about what to do and how to do it. So what kind of questions do you get asked then, typically, that come up when you're having these conversations?
So that's the thing. So all the information that they want to basically know to be able to understand well the program, you know. So they want to understand the questions about the eligibility criteria, the admission process, how long it takes. I talk a little bit, which is a very common question, about the difference between each program. For example, part-time versus full-time, the duration of the program, the location, what's the difference between different locations, starting dates here and there. Yeah, and a little bit of questions about the final research projects as well. So these are important factors and questions that most applicants are usually curious about just to get to know.
Thank you so much. Thinking about those different locations, I know it's really hard to provide a kind of overarching summary, but if you're thinking about Manchester with the full-time in Sweden, the part-time in Sweden and the part-time in London, how would you differentiate those? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, because this is a deep conversation, isn't it? About
no question, no. Yeah, so it all depends on the preferences, really. There's no big difference between the program in Manchester and the program in Stockholm. It's just a matter of preferences. So some applicants, they talk to me and they want to go to UK. It's like that's the preference. So they prefer going to Manchester because, for example, they have family there, or living expenses also is a little bit like better than in Stockholm for that reason as well. But in general, it's just a matter of preferences if they want to go to UK or Sweden. No big difference.
Great, thank you. I think one of the distinctions is that piece that Becca talked about with digital management and digital experience design, and how the teams work together and kind of mimic and repeat that real world experience of how teams operate. But for sure, the location is key just as well. And there's different starting points as well. So there's obviously the starting point in September for the Sweden one, and in January 2022 for Manchester. And what about the part-time? Is there
the part-time starting dates is in September, whether in UK or Sweden. And the part-time means like all applicants that they want to combine studying alongside with their work, so they can do this the part-time, and the only starting date is September, really. But for example, if they wanted to go for the digital experience design program, then they have no choice. It's just they have to do it as full-time in Manchester, and starting date is in January 2020. The upcoming intake in 2022.
Great, thank you so much, Iman. And so how would people get in touch with you? How do they find out more?
Okay, so getting in touch with me is very easy through the website. They can just, it's very advisable as well, which is what I always say, just to get to speak together. So just to better understand the background and preferences, to be able to guide and advise properly. But to able to apply is one of two ways. To go on the website, hyperisland.com, click on the master's degree page, and then choose the program of preference. And then once they're in the page on the right side, if you scroll down, you're going to see like a red square where you start the application, and then direct you to fill out the information, but also direct you to upload the documents. That's the most important part of the application. Uploading 4 important documents, essentially. First, a CV, 1 CV, 2, letter of intent, which is an introduction of why do you want to choose Hyper Island to study with. 3, the passport. 4 is a bachelor certificate or a master's degree certificate, if applicable. For international students, we also require the English test proficiency, IELTS or TOEFL. And for digital experience design, we require a portfolio as well. So these are the important documents, just to have it in mind.
No, that's great, thank you. And then once that's completed, it's a chance to have an interview with one of the program leaders, and then really dive into the program, what it's about, and understand from their perspective, how it's run. Great.
yeah, it's like interviews, and then we get to connect together, how long that takes for a decision, and if you're offered a seat, how long it takes you just to accept the seat, and so on. So yeah, that's
Great.
it.
Thank you so much, Iman. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to draw out now and see if there are any questions that are bubbling up. One of our amazing colleagues, Jenny, is there curating and asking. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, now is a really good time, because we're going to have everyone on screen. And so you have our brilliant alumni, our amazing program leaders. We have Iman, of course, as well. So this is the moment to ask that question. Hey, welcome back.
Hello.
Any questions that are coming through? Right, so we've got one here. This, Iman, must be your question.
The application deadline is June 30th to apply for the part-time digital management in London and in Stockholm, and the full-time digital management in Sweden, and also digital experience design in Manchester, and the digital management full-time in Manchester. All of the programs, actually, June 30th.
So that allows for 2 weeks to pull together the details. And what happens if someone's just a little bit later? I guess as long as they've started the application, that's a key thing.
Yeah, as long as they started the application, they submit some of the documents, but few remaining documents are still there to submit. It's fine, as long as they just submitted most of the documents before the deadline.
So they've started the process. Great, thank you so much. Jenny, I know that you're camera shy, so are there any other questions that might be popping up that are coming through? Okay, well, let's move then over to some of the alumni that we've got here. I know that it's been a while since you've been involved with Hyper. Maybe it's a couple of months, maybe it's a couple of years. What's your experience of popping back into this session? How's that felt?
I can pop popcorn style.
Pop ready.
No, it's like always when you meet someone who made a Hyper Island class, doesn't matter when or where, you really have common values. It really sounds like coming together as a family, whether it's here online or whether it's on a worldwide conference you're visiting. And I think this is really something that makes this school so very special. And it's so great. Just we had a few minutes just to get to know each other, to talk quickly, and you instantly connect with a tribe. So thank you also for making this happen from your side.
It's an absolute pleasure. We hope to do more, actually, I think, just to open it up. But let's see how we can go a little bit along. Is there anyone who feels like popping and talking about that experience?
I can pop. I think I can double that because I really still feel very connected, very supported by Hyper community, and I think that is also one of the biggest value for joining the course.
Thank you so much. Right, I'm going to ask a question that's just come up, just about a bit more of a deep dive into digital management and digital experience design. Catherine or Becca, who should I ask? Becca, you're good for this question. Thank you so much. So yeah, maybe an overview of how the different the content of the different programs, please.
Sure thing. So we're really fortunate. We've got a really great relationship and partnership with Teesside University, who credit both our MA programs and the content within them. And we launched with the newly accredited program content this January, just gone. And that content is just a build really on the previous one that was so successful already, and working really closely with alumni and industry partners. It was co-authored across the world to really keep us ahead of what is needed in industry. And so we had the digital experience design MA program that we host and we deliver here in Manchester has a really beautiful component in it that's become very successful over time, which is the last module, which is a deep dive into experience design. And that's a hefty module for you to kind of close on and give you that space to really explore what experience design means to you in your practice and how you're going to apply it moving forward. It's also got this really beautiful component to it, which is like a self-directed study module, which is agile making and prototyping. And we're building on the success of this idea that really we need to get making as soon as possible so that we can start making sense in the world and really use that time to prototype and, you know, engage in lo-fi through to high fidelity prototypes. And we bring in expertise in to help in that context as well. And with the digital management MA programs that you've heard today, and you've heard the difference, there's a slight difference really between the Stockholm digital management MA and the Manchester-based full-time digital management MA. And what we have is a slight difference, is a difference in module content. So that last module that I was talking about for the digital experience designs, that last module now for the digital management crew members in Manchester is called Future Scenarios. And we really start to play with this idea of, can we really scenario plan for the future? Is there a future? What are the futures? You know, we all know that having experienced the global pandemic, it's constantly shifting, it's constantly changing. And so we bring in great local support as well, and UK-based expertise to really look at what and tackle the complex challenges and wicked problems we've got there. We also, and we've just recently worked on a module with UN Ops to look at that in greater detail on a global scale as well. You know, how do we deal with these complexities in the world? So we look at future scenarios. And then in Stockholm, the digital management MA full-time program will not focus on future scenarios, but instead look at the power of networks. So there's a close connection there with just how active the communities are over in Stockholm, the tech communities, and how much that network is meaningful and is powerful really for Stockholm. So to make it location based and to make it really significant to each of the locations, you will have the opportunity to really explore future scenarios in the context of Manchester. Our rebellious streak will come out, our ability to misbehave will come out, and our anarchy will come out. And then in Stockholm, you'll have this beautiful context in which to explore the power of networks and really kind of have a look really at the local entrepreneurial culture.
Blimey. Nick. Thank you very much. It's a good job that we're recording this, because I think it's a great chance to then dive back into that explanation, which was super clear. Thank you so much. Right, wonderful. I think now it's time to close. We've had a wonderful nearly 45 minutes together. Thank you for your time, everyone, and thank you for joining and your commitment to doing this. I think you talked about wicked problems, Becca, and that's the thing that we set our students up for, to deal with that complexity and change that is so much more around us than even pre-pandemic. So yes, please come along, join us, find out more. Iman is there waiting for your call or application. But for now, I'll leave you and take care, everyone, and goodbye.